Aloha and welcome to this WOD, Dynamic 4. It's called DigitsModel, and you've probably all heard of Model View Controller Paradigm, and you've seen the Views package, you've seen the Controllers package, so that leaves the Models package, right? And so in this WOD, we're going to start having a Models package, and the reason we're going to need one is because we want to make a really pretty simple update to the system so that we actually, when we create a form, when we add a new contact using our form, we'd actually like it to be displayed in our contacts page, right? That's pretty obvious. So the whole goal here is that this page is now going to be dynamic, and it's going to get a list of contacts and display them, where the list of contacts that it gets are precisely those contacts that we've actually provided in this form. So when you first bring up the system, there will be no contacts. Then once you add a contact and you go back to that page, you're going to see the contact that you added. All right, so that's pretty self-explanatory. The one thing I recommend that you do is read Chapter 8 of Play with Java, because it talks about, it shows you examples of doing just this. Okay, they're a little different, but it should get you close. Okay, so we're going to start off by creating a new branch, off in my case of 222, and I'm going to call this attempt 2-2-2-2 because I already made one attempt because I had to generate those silly screen images. So I'm going to hit the branch. And now I'm in 2222, and hopefully we'll see if I refresh. I'm going to see we're in 2222. And since things look a little unhappy, I'm going to do a clean compile. What the heck, I'll do an Eclipse and a run. And so now, with any luck, sometimes we have luck, sometimes we don't. Yeah, we're back to 0 here. We go to digits, we type in our thing, and we've got the version of the system that we were at before. Okay? All right, so I think we're ready to go. Let's start the timer. Okay, and so we're going to provide dynamic output and a model for digits form data. Follow these steps. Implement a model for contact data. Create a new package called models and a class called contact with private fields and public getters and setters. Sure thing. So we'll say new package, call it models. Then within models, let's create a, actually let's just get rid of that jump there, because it looks stupid. And then within models, we'll create a new class called contact. And this class will have a private string first name and a private string last name and a private string telephone. And then what we can do is we want to generate the getters and setters. So let's not type that because, why should we? So we'll just click on each of these and create getters and setters. And this is the way that we have, simple way to actually, have a more Java-esque private fields, public accessors kind of thing. And that's actually going to become very useful to us when we move on to the database stuff. Okay, and also we want a public, I didn't say that, maybe I'll add that later, but we want a public string constructor, string last name, string telephone. This dot first name equals first name. This dot last name equals last name. This dot telephone. Okay, so we've got, oh, you know what we didn't do, I think? Check style does not feel activated, but now it is. Gotta add that too. So provides a model for contact data. And then this guy's going to say creates a new contact, first name. Something about this that just feels wrong. Those Java docs are not that informative, but I'm not quite sure what to do about it in that case. So I'm just going to do it this way. All right, so now we have the model contact class. Okay, and now we're going to create something called a class called ContactDB. And the idea of this class is to provides a simple in-memory repository for contact data. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a private static list contact contacts equals new array list. And then we got to do some imports. Okay. And then to construct this thing, what we're going to do is we're going to say public add contact. But instead of taking a contact, we're going to take a contact form data object. Unfortunately, the reasons for that are not so clear at this moment. It's going to turn out that the reason why we're going to do this is because the database is where we actually generate unique IDs, so our primary key. And so this is like foreshadowing. Later on, it's going to be useful to actually take the form data, which has everything we need to make contact, pass it to the repository, which will generate the unique ID, and then the contact will have that unique ID in it at that point. At this point, it's kind of unmotivated, unfortunately, but just suspend your disbelief, for a little bit, and then later on, it's going to be better, or it'll be more obvious why we do it this way. Okay. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to say a contact equals new contact, where the first name is going to be form data dot first name, and the last name is going to be form data dot last name, and the telephone number, as you might expect, is going to be that. Okay. And by the way, this returns a contact, which is one of the many things that Eclipse is complaining about at this moment. And actually, all we have to do now is say return contact. Well, return contact. Okay, so creates and returns a new contact, storing it in the in-memory database, or repository, I guess we're calling them. The contact data, the newly created contact. All right, the other thing we need is we need to get at all of these so this is our way of taking form data, adding it to our repository. The other thing we need to do for this particular WOD is to get the list of all contacts. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to make these things static. And normally I don't like static methods, But again, this is kind of just a way of making this look a little closer to the way once we have a real backend database, things will work. So I apologize. I don't like static methods, but and then we're going to do even something worse here. We're going to say get contacts, and we're just going to return our contacts. Okay, this is something you should really never do in real life. Returns a list containing all defined contacts. A list of contacts. A list. Because someone could now take that list that we've returned and destructively modify it without having gone through our interface. So this is not the greatest code. I'm kind of torn about whether I should write it better, just so you see what better written code would be like, but it feels to me kind of like gold plating for code that we're going to throw away pretty soon. So I think I'm going to keep it at this simple level and just kind of complain as I write it about the things I'm doing wrong. Like, I don't like the fact that it's static. I really don't like the fact that I'm returning this list. You know, I should be making a copy of the list to return. If I want to make sure that clients couldn't destructively modify my private thing, you know, that has this, you know, performance impact. Of course, performance impact for this thing is irrelevant anyway. So it's just a whole host of trade-offs which I can't really resolve in my own brain. So I'm gonna resolve it by saying, let's just write something simple, recognizing that this is kind of just for, you know, tutorial purposes, and that this code will never exist in production because you won't have an in-memory repository in production. So that's how I'm going to rationalize my failure to write quality code. Okay, so now we've got our models implemented. We've got a contact class, and we've got this contact DB guy, which is kind of a mock-up of an in-memory database. Now let's kind of let's wire things in. So the next thing we want to do is go to index .scala. Okay, and so now we need to write a for statement. Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to change our parameter list so that now what we're bringing in, instead of a string, is a list of contact. Okay, and of course we use these Scala square brackets instead of the Java angle brackets for reasons we don't know, and we're not going to worry about it. And then we use this crazy Scala syntax. So this is like a for each in Java. But instead of doing it the Java way, the Scala people have their own way of doing things. So the way they do it is by having this reverse, you know, this left pointing arrow, which says that this contact variable is going to be defined out of this list. We're going to enumerate over it, and then we're going to put some curly braces out there to indicate the code that's going to be created from this. Actually, I think I'm just going to keep it that way, so it's okay. And then the question is, what do we put inside? Well, the way you do that is you say add contact. Now we've got one of our contact instances. How do we get the first name? We call our accessor. And then we say add contact.get last name. That's how we get that guy. Now this third part is kind of irritating to me. Not irritating to me at all. It's just that, you know, we'd have to do a little bit of finagling to generate this href the way it is now. And in the interest of not finagling, but just showing you how things work, what I'm going to do is get rid of this link entirely at this point, and we'll just do it the simple way. Okay, hopefully you'll realize that it's, you know, it's just some code to generate, you know, we're going to just basically replace that first string, that the tell href. We just got to get rid of our dashes, add a +1, but of course then we're assuming it's all American phone numbers, which might not be right. So, you know, maybe we need to update our model to have the international country code. so on and so forth. It's just kind of the ripple effect of that is too big for me to want to deal with for this particular example. So, I liked showing you that little link thing because it's a cool little HTML5 feature. And, if you were really going to build this for use, I would absolutely add that back in and do the munging of your telephone data to make sure that you could actually generate that string. But for right now, we won't do that. Okay, so that's probably good enough to print out our contacts. And now, finally, we have to go to the application, and we have to do two things. One, when we're rendering the home page, we have to pass it our list of contacts. So that's a simple matter of calling getContacts. Now you kind of see why I made it static, because instead of creating a new one, it doesn't yet know that this is what this is, or that the render class has been. We haven't recompiled it yet in the Play console. That's why that's a problem. Okay, and then this should be fine, but this is going to be different. So now, and I've been just thinking that I'm just going to get rid of these debugging statements so that you can see what it looks like without them. Okay, so here is a situation where when we get a valid form, we want to add it to the database. So what we say is we say contact db.add contact, and of course it's just our contact form data. Okay, so having done all that, we may be good to go. Let's kind of check it out. Okay, so our current context is now empty. Let's go to new contact. Let's type in a random person's name and a random phone number. Press add. Go back to home. And we don't see our data. Good, we have an error. Let's figure out why. So we added this contact to the database. We think we did anyway. And then we didn't. Look, in our add contact, we created a new contact, but we never put it into our list. Okay, so let's fix that. Add contact. All right. So then we can go back to here, refresh, recompile, back to here, go to here, Philip Johnson, 808.123.8765, add, home, there we have it. Okay, so let's say that was about 16, let's give it 15 minutes because I really did digress quite a bit in this WOD. So we're going to call 15 minutes as the time for this WOD, and I hope you liked it. Hi, it's me again. I forgot to check the assignment, and to end the WOD, I'm supposed to commit the working code to the branch. So added dynamic table generation and a simple model. Commit and sync. Okay, now the WOD's actually finished. I'm going to change it to 16 minutes RX. Just give it another minute for that. All right, thanks.